Welcome to the deep dive. You're probably here because, like us, you want to get to grips with complex stuff, but, without wading through endless jargon.
Exactly, and that's
Yeah.
what we aim for. Take the source material, the documents, and pull out the really important bits, the understandable insights.
Today we're diving into something that captures a lot of attention. Unidentified Anomalous Phenomena, or UAP. We've got some interesting government documents here.
Yeah, things like internal emails, official memos, even organizational charts and reporting guidelines for the office dealing with UAP, which is called AARO.
So think of this as us giving you the lowdown. We'll break down what these documents actually say, why it matters, maybe connect some dots for you, all in plain English. Ready to jump in?
Let's do it. A good place to start is probably the beginning. Why does this office, AARO, the All-Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, even exist?
Right. Where did it come from?
Well, we have a couple of key memos here from back in July 2022. One's from the Deputy Secretary of Defense, the other from the Undersecretary for Intelligence and Security. These were essentially the official directives.
Okay. So formal orders saying we need a dedicated group for this UAP situation.
Pretty much. They basically said, okay, stand up this office. This is its job.
And what is its job in simple terms?
Their core mission, boiled down, is to spot, figure out, and if necessary, deal with strange, unidentified objects. And that's across all domains: space, air, underwater, land.
All of it.
Yeah, everything. Detect, identify, attribute, meaning figure out who or what is behind it, and then mitigate, which means reduce any potential risk.
I saw a phrase in there, something about minimizing technical and intelligence surprise. What does that mean, really?
It means they don't want to be caught flat-footed. Whether it's some advanced drone from another country or, something else entirely, they want to understand it before it becomes a major problem or reveals a gap in our own tech or understanding.
Okay, so trying to stay ahead of the curve, whatever that curve might involve.
Exactly. They want to synchronize the efforts, get the scientists, the intelligence analysts, the military operators, all talking and working together on this.
So the vision is, what? To make UAP less weird and more manageable.
Kind of, yeah. The idea is to handle UAP through the normal, established processes of the Department of Defense and the intelligence community. Apply rigorous scientific methods, good intelligence work.
And be transparent where possible.
Right. High standards, transparency, and making sure different parts of the government are aware of what's going on. Move it out of the shadows, so to speak, and into standard procedure.
Okay, so that's the why and the what. Now, how do they actually track these things? Is there, a specific form or process for reporting a UAP?
Yes, absolutely. And this is pretty significant. There's a joint staff message, sort of an official military-wide instruction from May 19th, 2023. It lays out a standardized way to report UAP incidents globally.
Standardized, so everyone uses the same template, same language?
Yeah, that's the idea. Whether you're a pilot, a sailor on a ship, someone watching radar, if you detect a UAP, you report it using this specific format. It helps them compare apples to apples,
Makes sense. Otherwise, it's just a jumble of random stories. What kind of events trigger a report?
They break it down into three categories. First, just an incident. That's basically any detection of a UAP by a person or any kind of sensor.
Okay, basic detection. What's next?
Incursions. These are a step up. It's a UAP incident that happens in sensitive airspace or areas. Think military bases, training ranges, operating areas, even around critical infrastructure.
So location matters.
Definitely. And it includes areas belonging to our allies, too, specifically the Five Eyes nations, Australia, Canada, the UK, New Zealand.
Got it. Incident, incursion. What's the third?
Engagements.
Yeah.
This is when there's some kind of response to the UAP. It could be kinetic, like sending up a fighter jet, or non-kinetic, like using electronic warfare measures.
Okay. And there was something about reporting quickly, within 24 hours.
Yeah, that's right. Any UAP incident requires notification to counterintelligence elements within 24 hours.
Why CI, specifically?
Well, you need to rule out or rule in potential foreign intelligence activity, right?
Yeah.
If something unexplained pops up near a sensitive site, that's an immediate counterintelligence concern. Could it be spying? Adversary tech. They need to know fast.
Okay. And this report format sounds pretty detailed. It's not just saw weird light, is it?
Oh, no, far from it. The template asks for a ton of specifics: date, time, location, obviously, the type of event, incident, incursion, or engagement, how many objects, altitude, velocity, trajectory.
The basics of flight?
Right, but then it gets into the really interesting stuff. Any anomalous characteristics or behaviors, things that don't make sense aerodynamically, like no visible means of propulsion, extreme acceleration, instantaneous changes in direction, moving without wings or engines, that sort of thing.
Stuff that defies known physics or engineering?
Exactly. They also want a description. Size, shape, color, was it solid, gaseous, luminous? And any signatures detected, radar, visual, infrared, acoustic, electronic warfare signals.
Multi-sensor data is key, I imagine.
Absolutely. Did it show up on one sensor but not another? That's important information. They also ask about observed maneuverability, any indication of intelligent control.
How did it react? Did it seem aware it was being watched?
Precisely. How did the UAP react to being observed or engaged? Did it affect any equipment nearby? Or people?
Whoa, effects on people too.
That's in there, yes. And finally, a really crucial one was anything recovered, any debris, any material.
And if something is recovered?
There are separate, very specific procedures for documenting the transfer of any data or recovered materials to AARO. That has to happen within 30 days of the incident with strict chain of custody. You need to know exactly who handled what when.
Yeah, this sounds incredibly thorough, like they're really trying to build a proper database.
Yeah.
Now, who are the people actually sifting through all this data at AARO? What does the office look like inside?
Good question. We have an organizational chart from August 2024 that gives us a glimpse. There's a director at the top, a deputy director.
Standard structure.
Right. And then it seems to be broken down into several key teams. There's an analysis division, an operations division, a science and technology or S&T division, and a strategic communications team.
So analysis looks at the reports, I guess.
Likely.
Operations handles
Right.
what? The response side.
That seems likely, yeah. Operations might coordinate investigations or active monitoring. Analysis would be digging into the data, looking for patterns, trying to identify objects.
And science and technology. That
Yep.
sounds crucial.
Definitely. That's likely where the deep technical and scientific expertise sits. Trying to understand the how. Are we seeing new physics, advanced tech, or maybe more mundane explanations? And strategic comms. Well, that's probably handling outreach, public statements, interagency stuff.
It mentions specific roles, too, like science advisors, different types of analysts, all source, radar, senior intelligence people.
Yeah, it looks like they've tried to pull in a real mix of skills. Radar experts are obviously critical, intelligence analysts to put things in context, operations specialists.
And liaisons from the Navy, Army, even NASA.
Right. That's important for coordination. AARO needs to be able to easily talk to and get information from these huge organizations. Having dedicated liaison officers helps smooth that process.
It really emphasizes collaboration, doesn't it? I saw mentions of an AARO IC collaboration forum.
Yes, IC meaning intelligence community. So that's likely their formal way of engaging with the CIA, NSA, NRO, all the other intelligence agencies, sharing data, coordinating analysis.
And that FVEY UAP Caucus, FVEY, it's the Five Eyes, right? US, UK, Canada.
Australia and New Zealand, yeah. That meeting, mentioned as happening in May 2023, was apparently the first of its kind, aimed at sharing awareness, talking about what each country is doing, challenges, and how they can potentially collaborate on UAP issues internationally.
So the goal seems to be open communication, both internally within the U.S. government and with key allies. But that brings us to a tricky part of these documents, doesn't it? The whole situation with David Grusch.
Yes. That's definitely a point of friction highlighted in the emails we have, spanning from 2023 into 2024.
Remind us who David Grusch is again.
He's a former intelligence official, worked with the UAP task force before AARO was set up. He came forward with some pretty explosive claims about alleged secret government programs involving UAP, including recovery of non-human craft and materials. Big claim.
And AARO wanted to talk to him, naturally.
Exactly. The emails show AARO reaching out, trying to schedule an interview. Initially, it seems Grusch agreed, but then he refused.
Why? What was the holdup?
His stated concern was about AARO's legal authority, specifically whether they were properly cleared or authorized to receive highly classified information, especially concerning things called Special Access Programs, or SAPs, and Controlled Access Programs, or CCAPs.
SAPs and CCAPs.
Yeah.
Those are the government's most secret secrets, right?
Yeah.
Above top secret.
Essentially, yes. Highly compartmentalized programs with very restricted access. Grusch seemed worried that talking to AARO about things potentially related to these programs could violate his security oaths or non-disclosure agreements, NDAs.
But AARO pushed back on that.
They did. They tried hard to assure him. They pointed to the law, the FY23 National Defense Authorization Act, which explicitly gives AARO the authority to receive all UAP-related information at all classification levels, regardless of any prior NDAs.
So the law seemed to cover it.
According to AARO and DoD leadership, yes. They even provided Grusch with specific memorandums to back this up. One from the director of DoD Special Access Programs Central Office, another from the director of the ODNI's Controlled Access Programs Coordination Office.
The actual heads of the SAP and CAP oversight offices.
Exactly. Both memos explicitly stated AARO does have the authority to receive this kind of information.
But Grusch still wasn't satisfied.
Apparently not. He continued to insist on specific conditions. He wanted, for instance, a formal determination from the CPCO office that would absolve any oral history interview subjects, not just him, from their NDAs. He also wanted the interview conducted at a very specific, high-level security facility or handling level.
It sounds like he didn't fully trust AARO's interpretation or reassurances, maybe. Or perhaps had other reasons.
It certainly looks like a stalemate. The emails reflect AARO's leadership's view that Grusch's refusal is hindering their investigation and that his claims about their lack of authority are, in their view, inconsistent with the law and the official clarifications they provided.
And the Pentagon itself weighed in.
Yeah, they made a public statement basically backing AARO, confirming its legal authority to receive all UAP-related info, all classification levels, no restrictions based on NDAs. But the standoff, as far as these documents show, continued.
Wow. Okay, that's complex. It really highlights the challenges involved when you get into these highly classified areas. Now let's pull back a bit. How does all this AARO, the reporting, the Grusch stuff relate to the bigger picture?
Yeah.
Things people often ask about, UFOs, maybe even parapsychology, black budget programs.
Right. Let's tackle that. First, the documents explicitly use the term unidentified anomalous phenomena, UAP. That's the official government term now for what people historically called UFOs. So yes, it's directly about that core subject.
So UAP is the new UFO, officially speaking.
Pretty much. And the kind of things they're interested in definitely overlap with classic UFO reports. The reporting guidelines ask about anomalous characteristics, behaviors not readily understood, and capabilities or material that exceed known performance envelopes.
That last one sounds key. Exceed known performance. That points towards potentially extraordinary technology or phenomena, doesn't it?
It certainly opens the door to that possibility, or at least acknowledges that's what needs investigating. And the whole discussion around SCPs and CCAMPs, triggered by the Grusch situation, directly confirms the relevance of highly classified, compartmented government programs to this topic.
So SAPs and CAPs are definitely part of the UAP conversation, at least potentially. What about those other terms, parapsychology or black budget programs?
The documents don't explicitly mention parapsychology or psychic phenomena. That doesn't seem to be within AARO's current defined scope based on this material. As for black budget programs, well, SAPs and CKPs are funded through channels that aren't typically public knowledge, so they certainly fall under the umbrella of what people informally call the black budget.
So the secrecy and funding mechanisms for SAP and KPs touch on that idea.
Right. The documents don't use the term black budget, but the existence of these highly classified programs and the difficulties in accessing information about them is a central theme, especially with Grusch. What's clear is that the government is trying, through AARO and standardized reporting, to create a formal, data-driven process to investigate these phenomena, moving beyond just anecdotal accounts.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, final piece then. What does all this mean for us, for everyday people? How does this impact the public perspective, modern life, the near future?
Well, I think the very existence of AARO and these standardized reporting procedures signifies a major shift. The government is publicly acknowledging UAP as a real issue deserving serious, organized investigation. That alone starts to change the public conversation.
Moving it away from fringe territory, maybe?
Potentially, yes. More transparency, even if limited, could lead to a more informed public understanding. And remember, AARO's mission, it touches on things that do affect everyday life.
Like what, specifically?
Aviation safety is a big one they mention. Unidentified objects in the airspace are a potential hazard to pilots and passengers, civilian or military. National security is another understanding. If advanced technology, possibly from adversaries, is operating in our domains, is critical.
So safety and security are direct potential impacts.
Absolutely. And even if many UAP turn out to have mundane explanations, foreign drones, sensor errors, natural phenomena, the process of investigating them rigorously could lead to scientific discoveries or improvements in our own sensor technology.
But the secrecy aspect, the SAPCK stuff, the Grusch controversy, that probably fuels public curiosity and maybe even distrust, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. The lack of definitive answers combined with the clear existence of related secrets creates fertile ground for speculation and debate. It keeps the topic intriguing.
So what about the near future? More documents, more answers.
It's hard to say for sure. The potential is there for more information to be declassified and shared via AARO's reports to Congress and the public, depending on their findings and, frankly, political will. It also depends on whether individuals with knowledge, like Grusch potentially, decide to cooperate through official channels.
So for the average person, this means the government is officially saying, yes, there's something here worth looking into seriously.
Exactly. It's an acknowledgement that these phenomena warrant investigation at the highest levels. And that in itself might subtly shift how we view our world, our technology, and maybe even our place in the universe, depending on what, if anything, they ultimately find.
Okay, let's try to sum this up then. What we've seen from these documents is the formal establishment of AARO, its mission to detect, identify, and understand UAP across all domains.
Right. We've seen the creation of a detailed, standardized reporting system for military encounters, incidents, incursions, engagements emphasizing specific data points, especially anomalous behavior.
We've also seen AARO's internal structure, bringing together analysis, operations, science, and communications, and their efforts to collaborate with the wider intelligence community and even international allies like the Five Eyes.
And importantly, we've seen the challenges and complexities involved in accessing information related to highly classified programs, really highlighted by the difficulties AARO faced in interviewing David Grusch, despite having apparent legal authority.
And just to be clear, while these documents confirm a serious government effort and the relevance of secret programs, they don't offer definitive proof about the origin of UAP no-smoking gun about aliens here.
Not in these specific documents, no. They show the process, the structure, the challenges, and the focus on unexplained characteristics, but not the final answer.
So it leaves us with a thought, doesn't it? Given this intense focus in the reporting on capabilities that exceed known performance envelopes, things that seem to defy our current understanding, what would be the most paradigm-shifting discovery AARO could realistically make?
That's the big question, isn't it? If they found conclusive evidence of technology operating based on principles we don't currently understand, regardless of origin, how would that reshape science, technology, our whole view of what's possible?
Definitely something to ponder. Keep asking questions, keep looking critically. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Yeah, thanks for listening. We'll catch you next time.
I would have been on top of the charts, but it's politics. You do some gimmick shit and post, you get a lot of clicks. Drop some real shit and they probably won't acknowledge it.